If you're in the tech world, there is no escaping the debate that's been raging online. Are AI coding assistants this incredible, revolutionary leap forward, or are they a productivity-killing disaster? You hear two completely different stories. So let's dive in and try to separate the hype from the actual reality. So this whole debate basically exploded again because of a viral video that made a really dramatic claim. It said the big promise of AI developers has totally backfired, and now companies are, and I'm quoting here, drowning in a slop layer. Just tons of low-quality, context-blind code that's a nightmare to fix. I mean, that's a powerful and, let's be honest, a pretty scary statement that got a lot of people talking. And that really gets to the heart of what we're trying to figure out today. Is the tech itself the problem? Or was it the completely unrealistic hype from a couple of years ago, this idea that you could just fire all your human developers and let the AI take over? All right, let's tackle the first big point of contention, the quality of the code itself. Is it really the useless slop that the critics claim it is? The video's whole argument really hangs on this one idea, the AI babysitter. The claim is that developers are actually 19% slower now because instead of building cool stuff, they spend all their time correcting the AI's mistakes. And look, for anyone who used those early tools, that feeling is probably very, very familiar. You're probably nodding your head right now. But this is where the video's argument starts to feel a little, well, dated. The slop it's talking about? That was a huge problem with the 2024 era tools, which were basically just fancy autocompletes. Today, in 2026, we're dealing with something totally different, the Agentic IDE. So what the heck is an Agentic IDE? Well, it's not just guessing the next line of code. It's an entire AI environment that reads and understands the whole picture of your project. It knows all the files, all the dependencies, the entire architecture. It builds this mental map before it even thinks about suggesting a change. It's less like a tool and more like a human collaborator. And this change happened unbelievably fast. We went from those simple autocomplete tools that created all that slop to these new context-aware agents. And now, the best tools can do autonomous debugging. I mean, they'll write the code, run it, see an error, and then just fix it themselves. The whole babysitting job is quickly turning into more of a managing job. Of course, this isn't just about technology, right? This is about people. It's about careers. And the video makes a really strong claim that AI is creating a massive jobs crisis. And you know what? This is the one part of the video's argument that is frighteningly spot on. It talks about a junior death spiral where companies just stopped hiring entry-level developers because they figured, hey, AI can do all the simple stuff now. And that has had some very real and very serious consequences. The data here confirms it, and it is alarming. Hiring for entry-level developer jobs fell by a staggering 50% between 2023 and 2025. That's a huge drop. In trying to automate the grunt work, the industry basically choked off its own supply of future senior talent. This isn't hype. It's a real crisis that everyone acknowledges. But while that door was closing, another one was creaking open. The actual job of being a developer started to fundamentally change. The focus shifted away from just typing out repetitive, boilerplate code and moved way up to high-level system design and orchestration. The value isn't in the typing anymore, it's in the thinking. And out of that shift, this new role emerged, the AI architect. Now, this is an experienced engineer who isn't just asking an AI to, write a little function. No, they use these crazy, powerful agents as a force multiplier, directing them to build, test, and deploy entire complex systems. They're like the conductor of an AI orchestra. Okay, so we've talked code quality, we've talked jobs. Let's get to the business side of things. The video makes this huge claim that for all the money poured into this tech, companies have seen absolutely zero return on their investment. Is that actually true? The specific claim is that a whopping 95% of corporate Gen AI pilots have failed. It paints this picture of total financial disaster and companies just giving up. But the actual data from the market, well, it tells a very, very different story. Let's just take a look at Windsurf, one of the leading agentic platforms. It has over 1 million active developers using it. This is not some niche experimental tool. And they're not just hobbyists. We're talking over 4,000 enterprise customers. These are big companies paying real money to integrate this stuff deep into their workflows. And here's the financial punchline. $82 million in annual recurring revenue. So, yeah, maybe some vague corporate pilots failed, but purpose-built developer tools are a thriving, profitable market. And if you need any more proof that this technology is the real deal, Windsurf recently got FedRAMP High authorization. That's a huge deal. It means it meets these incredibly strict security standards to be used by the US federal government and even the Department of Defense on sensitive projects. This is not a failing technology. And that's because the engines running these tools today are just in a completely different league. We're talking models like Claude 3.7, Gemini 2.5, Llama 3.1. Their ability to reason and understand complex instructions is light years ahead of the 2024 models that video was really critiquing. So let's bring this all home. When you stack up all the hype and all the fear against the reality of where we are today in 2026, what's the real story of AI in coding? This pretty much sums it up, right? The fear of a slop layer of bad code has been answered by agentic IDEs that actually maintain context. The junior death spiral? Painfully real, but it's forcing an evolution towards that new AI architect role. And the claim of zero ROI? Well, that's just blown out of the water by massive, profitable enterprise adoption. And that brings us to the single most important takeaway from all of this. The real failure we saw wasn't a failure of the technology. It was a failure of imagination. It was this flawed corporate expectation that AI was going to replace human thinking. But the truth is, it's here to replace human typing. And so that leaves us with one last really fascinating question to think about. If the mechanical act of typing code is increasingly handled by AI agents, what new, complex, ambitious problems can our minds finally be freed up to solve? What's the new ceiling for human creativity and architecture now?